Yeah, playing it loose. Welcome to my channel, KC. That's me, Carrie Chug, the Sledge Storyteller, here to talk about the wonderful world of storytelling and to open up discussion about how we can tell the best stories we can by talking about superhero movies, the good, the bad, from a storytelling standpoint. Deciding on the criteria of which superhero movies to review has carried challenges. I've been focusing lately on the live-action Batman movies, but I can't escape the enticement to tap into animated Bat films that are theatrical or at least related to the theatrical. I realize that I shouldn't have skipped Mask of the Phantasm as I'm going in chronological order, but I'll get to that eventually. And now I find myself between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, which had the video release of the animated Batman Gotham Knight set between it. It was loosely set on the same universe as Christopher Nolan's films and put together by Japanese anime studios. And overall, I love it enough that I really have to dip into it. And because it's made up of the 5 shorts, the format will veer from the usual segments of the bad, then the good, and talk about each short in depth. Now, I'm not a huge fan on this one, actually, so I'll get through it, but not with much love for it. It draws heavily from the episode of the animated Batman Adventures, Tales of the Dark Knight, where a group of kids tell their stories of their understanding of what Batman is all about. In this case, the kids tell stories they claim to have witnessed. Now that's a fun format, it's just that for all that this is supposed to mean, imagery from these kids' wild imagination, the character design is all too often morbidly disproportionate. And while I kinda like the design of the Lovecraft-influenced Batman and the Man-Bat-like Batman, all in the spirit of kids' imagination, just that the Iron Batman, it's too wacky. But the other praiseworthy aspect of this is the spectacular scenery and the beautifully rendered Gotham skyline. There are parts that I like, but the downers, to me, they make it so that I usually skip it. Now this was an upgrade on character design. It starts with Gordon at his office ordering detectives Crispus Allen, strangely never seen in the Dark Knight films, though he's in the comics, and Ana Ramirez, who's in the Dark Knight, to escort a recently apprehended psychopath to Arkham Asylum, only to find themselves in a crossfire between rival gangsters Salvatore Maroni and the Russian. The imagery and action here is so striking to pull you to the edge of your seat, as Batman proves himself to be resilient, skilled, and having nerves of steel. And one thing that stands out is how it can have such slow pacing that doesn't drag at all. So here, after the first 2 shorts, with Batman's dialogue being very brief, here's where we start getting so much more from the king of Batman voiceover actors himself, Kevin Conroy. At least for me, this short is the first one to have the more familiar anime feel to it. It all starts with Bruce entering the Wayne Enterprises R&D lab to speak with Lucius Fox to look at satellite photos of yachts belonging to the rival mob bosses, the Russian and Maroni. Lucius then demonstrates what he discovered to be a byproduct of the company's satellite gyro, a bulletproof force shield. Now, admittedly, when I first saw this, I felt a little uneasy because it reminded me of Sledge force shield system that I had already put together, but I got to feel more at ease with how I had already established that Sledge shield operated on pulsars that picked up on movement rather than sound in this case, and also I had the specification that it's vulnerable to organic projectiles. But it's a cool development here and well used in the story. The next scene has Bruce playing in a charity golf tournament against Ronald Marshall, who we learn is suspected of murdering activist Teresa Williams, a foreshadowing of a development for the last animated short. But later, that night, Batman manipulates things between the two mob bosses that leads to some wonderfully fluid action that involves Batman's force shield proving effective, but then there's a ricocheted bullet. It hits a mob bystander. Having already put the two mob bosses in their place, Batman takes the victim to the hospital, and when he next sees Lucius Fox, he gives up on the force shield out of fear of collateral damage. Now, while the two previous shorts were about building up to The Dark Knight, this one picks up from Batman Begins with the Scarecrow in the sewers. It also brings Killer Croc into this universe with a well played out sewer scrap. Batman crashes Scarecrow's gathering with his followers, holding a kangaroo court with a local priest him on trial. The action around the rescue is extremely fluid with lots of awesome martial arts moves and plenty of cunning shown by Batman, and the surrounding visuals are spectacular. Then suddenly things get heavy. We get a glimpse of Bruce and his pre-Batman journeys, which included helping a surgeon in India. Amid all that, Bruce is seeking instruction from one who can help him learn to overcome pain. He goes under the tutelage of Cassandra, and for him, the physical pain is the easy part. All this is juxtaposed with scenes of Batman in the present day, having just been shot by a man hallucinating from Scarecrow's toxin, and having to work through that pain, and then some. All that in getting out of the sewer. The last flashback in India, we get to see Bruce prevail over a group of thugs. After an impressive display of dealing with pain, Cassandra turns him away for not accepting the teachings of what was required of him to master his inner pain, which was her goal. Apparently it wasn't his. And then the key moment back in the present, where Batman finds himself surrounded by piles of guns. By the time Alfred comes to his aid, he has gathered all the guns in a box. Alfred asks him to take his hand. Bruce's response, he can't let go of his past and doesn't want to let go of his pain if that means he has to forget his sworn mission to symbolically avenge his parents' death. For being a short, it nails the deep psychology of Batman on so many levels. Like Have I Got a Story for You, the scenery in this short is incredible. Of course, this time it's because of super sharp CGI, and the structures of buildings and statues are just gorgeous. And we get one more villain from Batman's comic book Rogues Gallery, Deadshot, and they demonstrate his marksmanship very well. An ordered hit on Lieutenant Gordon turns out to be bait for Batman, with the whole movie's final showdown atop a train. Deadshot gets in the first good strike before Batman gets the upper hand and utters what is to me the all-time great audible Batman line ever.
Shoot your mouth off now, Deadshot.
Once we understand that Deadshot and Ronald Marshall have been apprehended, there's a nice emotional epilogue afterward that brings it all together, sums it up, and it all comes to a close. It does demand some anime sensibility, which means that you have to allow your suspension of disbelief to get stretched quite a bit. Ironic, since Christopher Nolan's aim in Batman Begins was a sense of realism. But whenever I watch the Dark Knight trilogy, I have to include this along the way. It has a loose connection to the trilogy, but I myself can find a complete connection with the frame of mind of some anime filmmakers distorting my imagination with it. But that's my take on Batman Gotham Knight. Thank you for watching. Agree, disagree, something I left out? Please let me know in the comments section. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe or follow me on Instagram. As always, the link to order /1 and number 2 is in the description below through indieplanet.com. It can be ordered on digital format or paper format, or you can order both formats for /1 on Kindle. But as always, Let's look for civility amid all the hate that's out there. Let's not look for hate. Let's look for friendship wherever we can find it. Let's not worry too much about disagreements. I'm sure we can find common ground when we make the effort to look for it. But as always, everyone be safe and God bless.